salarios del 150%, recortes universitarios del 60%, aumento de gas de un 300%, 70% de inflación en 3 meses. Casi el 60% de la Argentina es pobre y los salarios docentes están por debajo de la línea de la pobreza. ¿Esta es la Argentina que queremos? Donde un vocero...
China has hit the mother lode with the discovery of a massive gold reserve in South China's Hunan province. Chinese geologists identified more than 40 mineral veins located less than 2,000 meters underground with a worth of almost $83 billion. Scientists were using innovative technologies, including 3D geological mining, to look for precious metals. They estimate the total reserves in the area to be over 1,000 tons. Now, this comes as gold prices have soared recently and are set to reach record highs in the coming months.
To at least 3... Can we put up the graphic of this? I think I'm gonna have to hand this off. Yeah. Sorry, that does it for us tonight. We'll see you again tomorrow. No.
On China's east coast, just off Shanghai, there's a shipyard so huge that it has more capacity than all the shipyards in America. It's called Jiangnan. It's a joint military and civilian site that's common in China, and it recently launched China's newest aircraft carrier. This is part of a problem so big for America that it could decide its future role in Asia. You see, Jiangnan is just one facility. Taken together, China has 230 times the shipbuilding capacity of the United States. You heard that right, 230 times.
So long, farewell, I'll be to say goodnight. I hate...
What are the consequences that you set it down in black and white? There will be consequences. We've been talking about this for 5 minutes and you have not told me a single consequence.
That will be that if people repeatedly refuse to take up the training or work responsibilities, there will be sanctions on their benefits. And the reason why we believe this so strongly is that we believe in our responsibility to provide those new opportunities, which is what we will do. We will transform those opportunities, but young people will be required to take them up, just as they did in the late 1990s with the New Deal for young people and the late noughties with the Future Jobs Fund, because it is so damaging for young people not to have skills or not to be in work when they're young. It can have a lifelong consequence, and we do not want that future for our young people.
Morning all. Because of the war in Ukraine, large parts of Ukraine as a country is being carved up and sold off. So 30% of its farmland. Ukraine is known as the breadbasket of Europe, right? It's one of the biggest agricultural, it was one of the biggest agricultural and farming producers globally, let alone just in Europe, but globally. Now 30% of its farmland has been sold off. And that has been sold off to 3 companies, 2 of which are Cargill and Monsanto. I forget the name of the third one. But a little bit of research shows that the major shareholder and owner of those 3 companies that have bought 30% of all of the farmland in Ukraine is BlackRock. I put a video on about BlackRock yesterday. So BlackRock are the company that have been pictured at press conferences, in meetings at Downing Street with Keir Starmer, and who Keir Starmer has put out a press release saying that he's going to get BlackRock actively involved in investment in the UK and trying to help the UK to grow. So BlackRock effectively now own 30% of the farmland in Ukraine. Meanwhile, by complete coincidence, laws and new taxes have been brought in the UK, which over the next 2, 3, 5, 10 years are going to lead to pockets of our farmland having to be sold off, and it will have to be sold off because the small farmers or the smaller farmers and smaller landowners that fall into the inheritance tax trap won't be able to afford to pay those taxes, and the only way they can pay those taxes is to sell off pockets or packets of their land. Who are they going to sell it to? Big corporations. I wonder, could that possibly be BlackRock? Or could it possibly be the now biggest private landowner in the whole of the USA, Bill Gates, who also, just completely coincidentally, happened to be at a meeting in Downing Street 3 weeks ago?
Have no fear, because Catwoman is here.
Delay in Argentina has basically, I don't know, a year or an 18-month head start on us and has been doing this. He did a great podcast with Lex Friedman. They translated it, actually, they dubbed it, which is kind of interesting technology. And in this discussion, they talked about reducing the ministries, agencies, from 20 to 8. They fired 50,000 government workers, 15% of the total workforce. There were 341,000 when he started. They implemented daily deregulation process to remove inefficient policies. So they just do that day in and day out. They ended discretionary payments to provinces and cities. They restored market-driven utility prices, no more subsidies, yada, 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 right down the line. Sachs, your thoughts on how many months it will take to do this? And there's this discussion, and I don't know if that's from inside the Trump administration of, hey, we got to get this done in 18 months. We got to get this done in 18 months. What can you tell us about the sense of urgency about getting this done quickly and why that's occurring?
Well, I think Elon and Vivek have announced that Doge will be sunsetting or disbanding at the 250th anniversary of America, which would be July 4th of 2026.
And I'm here for my children, and I'm here for my grandchildren, and I'm here to keep Ireland for the Irish, and our Celtic race, and our culture, and our traditions, and our Christian Catholic religion. And I do not want Ireland to become an Islam stronghold.
Here, here. Well said. Great stuff. Fair play.
Dewsbury, winter before last, in the height of the energy price is going up, and spoke to an 84-year-old woman, worked all her life, obviously now a pensioner, and she told me that she doesn't get out of bed till midday because she didn't want to turn the heating on.
Yeah, it's awful.
And then when she did get out of bed, she had this sort of thermal jacket that she just wore all day long, so she didn't have to put the heating up very high. That's an awful position to put a pensioner in.
Yeah.
And there are just too many of those stories. Another pensioner, it was actually, we had a group of them in Dewsbury, was describing to me going around the supermarket and picking something up and looking at the price and then putting it back on the shelf.
Yeah.
And now you could say, okay, that's not the biggest thing in the world.
Well, it is,
but actually it is when you
Yeah.
just feel, after having worked all your life, I can't just have, lead the life I want to lead now. Or I can't do things I even did a year ago. That's the sense of insecurity, I think, that eats away at people.
Boy, that escalated quickly.
To challenge me, I'm ready. Oh, me too, brother, me too.
Get the swine flu shot. Time is running out.
Let me read to you from one of your own agency's memos planning the campaign to urge Americans to take the shot. The swine flu vaccine has been taken by many important persons, he wrote. Example, President Ford, Henry Kissinger, Elton John, Muhammad Ali, Mary Tyler Moore, Rudolph Nureyev, Walter Cronkite, Ralph Nader, Edward Kennedy, etc., etc. Did you talk to these people beforehand to find out if they plan to take the shot?
I did not know.
Did anybody?
I do not know.
Did you get permission to use their names in your campaign?
I do not know.
Mary, did you take a swine flu shot?
No, I did not.
Did you give them permission to use your name saying that you had or were going to?
Absolutely not. Never did.
Did you ask your own doctor about taking the swine flu shot?
Yes, and at the time he thought it might be a good idea. But I resisted it because I was leery of having the symptoms that sometimes go with that kind of inoculation.
I'm mad with my government because they knew the facts, but they didn't release those facts because if they had released them, the people wouldn't have taken them. And they can come out tomorrow and tell me there's going to be an epidemic and they can drop off like flies to next to me. I will not take another shot that my government tells me to take.
Meantime, Judy Roberts and some 4,000 others like her are still waiting for their day in court.